Welcome to Links and Locks, Action Network's golf betting podcast presented by Bet365. I'm your host, Andy Lack, and I'll be joined alongside Action Golf contributor Tony Sartori for these best bets episodes. Tony and I will play 18 holes today, giving our 18 favorite picks for this week's tour event, the RBC Canadian Open. Before we dive into this week's episode, a reminder that the Links and Locks podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day they power up the odds board on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. Okay, Tony, we're on the first tee here for our RBC Canadian Open Best Bets. Get us started.
I'm going to get gross with it again. I did it last week. I'm doing it again this week. I'm taking Rory at plus 375 at Bet365. I fell short with the chalk last week with Scotty, but I'm going to do it again with Rory. I mean, the gap between Rory and the rest of this field is even bigger than the gap between Scheffler and the rest of the field last week. Rory is a two-time winner of this event, winning in 2019 and 2022. Obviously, there's a course rotation with this tournament, but 2019 Hamilton hosted it as well, so he returns to a place where he won last time he played here. He's also going to have a pretty big edge with that experience over the field. There's a lot of guys in this field who have never played at Hamilton before. It's also worth noting that Hamilton is a Harry Colt design that just underwent a pretty lengthy renovation by Martin Ebert and Tom McKenzie. If that sounds familiar, it's because the Ebert-McKenzie tandem also renovated Colt's Royal Liverpool prior to the 2023 Open Championship. Rory finished sixth in that tournament as well. And then finally, I mean, Rory's just in such great form. He's won two of his past three tournaments. He's put together a solid performance at the PGA Championship in the only tournament he didn't win over that stretch, but pretty light field this week. So I am going to take the chalk again and go Rory at plus 375.
I'm going to get a little more adventurous farther down the board and start my outright selections with Sam Burns at 27-1 enhanced. I think that this is a golf tournament that will need to be won with your wedge play and putting. And I look at the golf courses and the types of tournaments that Sam Burns wins at. And there are a lot of short positional golf courses with somewhat easier scoring conditions. And I actually think that he's playing a lot better than his results would suggest. I know he missed the cut at the PGA Championship, but he actually gained over 2.5 strokes on approach. We saw him start to play a lot better at Quail Hollow as well. So I'm going to roll with Sam Burns at 27-1. Of the top guys, I trust both his putter the most. He seems to win at the highest rate, particularly in the context of guys like Lowry, Fleetwood, and Noren. So give me Sam Burns, the best winner of that group and the best putter of that group at 27-1.
I love it. I'm actually going to take a guy you just mentioned. I'm going to go after Alex Noren at 25-1 at Bet365. He's in fantastic form. He's made the weekend in 17 straight tournaments. He boasts 12 top 25 finishes over that stretch, including 3 top 3 finishes. So he's been flirting with winning for a while now. But he hasn't actually done so, but he's going to face a pretty weak field in Canada this week. So I think that if he's going to get it done, I think this is going to be the week where he finally does it in terms of his performance this season. I just talked about Royal Liverpool with Rory earlier, but Noren finished 23rd at Royal Liverpool last year against a field much stronger than what he will face this week. But he also has experience at Hamilton. He was here in 2019. He made the cut. Didn't finish too well, but he still's got 4 rounds of experience here under his belt, which a lot of guys, as I mentioned, in this field do not. So just combine that recent form. He's got experience here. He's played on Colt designs before that have been renovated by McKenzie and Ebert McKenzie. So at 25-1, I like Noren as my favorite non-Rory bet this week.
I'm going to stick in the outright market and go with Adam Hadwin, 45-1. We got the Canadian correct at this event last year. We're going to try and make it 2 in a row with Adam Hadwin. I love the way that he's playing right now. I love his fit on this golf course. I think he has a lot of similarities in playing style to Nick Taylor last year in terms of his ability with his short irons, his ability to spike with the putter. He did finish 12th at Oakdale last year, which I actually think is a pretty good similar comp to what we should expect this week at Hamilton. He, for what it's worth, also finished 6th at Hamilton in 2019, gaining strokes in all 4 major categories. I think the President's Cup narrative is real with a lot of these guys. I would be very, very surprised if at least one, not multiple Canadians were, particularly some of those guys on the bubble that really need to play well in front of Mike Weir this week to secure their spot on the President's Cup team and ahead of Royal Montreal this September. And Adam Hadwin would be my best bet of all of the Canadians playing this week in terms of love Corey Connors too. Don't trust him enough. Don't trust him to make enough putts to actually win this golf tournament. I think Hadwin's combination of elite putting and wedge play uh, leaves him to be like a phenomenal course fit at Hamilton, which he's already proven before in 2019. So I'm going to roll with Adam Hadwin 45 to 1.
I'm gonna stick in the same vein in a way. I'm gonna go after a Canadian as well, and that's Taylor Pendrith. That's 66 to 1. I mean, can Canada go back to back here for the first time in over a century? It remains to be seen, but I like Hadwin as well, actually a lot. But between Hadwin and Pendrith, those are the top 2 guys I thought would have the best chance this week out of the Canadians to do so. And the reason I say that is because inconsistency has been such a frustrating aspect of Pendrith's career. But when he is on, he is absolutely one of the better golfers on tour. It's just when he's off, he's missing cuts. But right now he's on. He's got 4 top 11 finishes over his past 5 tournaments. And he just won the Byron Nelson earlier this month. So his game's as good as it's been in quite some time right now. Yes, he's coming off a missed cut at the PGA Championship, but that I'm not going to let that overshadow what he did in the 4 straight tournaments leading up to that. And again, that feels just far, far more superior than what we're going to see this week. So I think there are definitely worse flyers take this week than Pendrith at 66 to 1.
I'm going to go with one more outright wager for us in Aaron Rai 50 to 1 enhanced on Bet 365. I just love the way that Rai is playing right now. He was heavily featured for me last week at Colonial. He hit the ball amazingly well, finished top 35, lost 4 strokes putting, and that would be the biggest concern for me this week as well, is can he make enough putts to win this golf tournament? But he did shoot 17 under par, finish 1 stroke outside of a playoff at Oakdale last year. So we know that he can play north of the border. We know that he can play on this style of golf course in this part of the country, in this style of agronomy, and that his putter can keep up to win a golf tournament, one in the 16 to 19 under range, which is what I think we should expect this week at Hamilton as well. I just think that his floor is so high right now based on the way that he's driving the ball and the way that he's hitting his iron. So I'm going to go with Aaron Rai to finally break through for his first PGA Tour victory at 50 to 1.
Love that. I'm going to go to the top 10 market, and I'm going to go after Robert Macintyre, who's plus 750 at Bet365. And this number kind of shocked me a little bit. So Macintyre boasts 2 top 10 finishes over his past 5 tournaments, including an 8th place finish at the PGA Championship just 2 weeks ago. If he can finish top 10 at the PGA Championship, he unquestionably can finish top 10 in Canada this week then, which makes me love this play at plus 750. I particularly like him this week because he's been playing a really good all-around game. He's gaining distance off the tee over his competition. He's gaining strokes both on the approach and around the green, and his putter has been on fire. So there's just, even if one part of his game goes south, there's so many avenues where you can get those strokes back around this course this week. So, I mean, again, 2 top 10 over his past 5 tournaments. So at plus 750, I'm going to bet on that trend to continue on Robert Macintyre.
I'm going to stick in the top 10 market and go with Adam Scott plus 375 top 10. I don't know if I totally trust Adam Scott to win a golf tournament at this stage of his career, but I just absolutely love the way that he's playing right now. He's coming off a 12th place finish at Colonial where he gained 4 strokes on approach and over 4 strokes with his putter. That is the exact type of formula that I am looking for this week in Hamilton. I am looking for guys that are in great recent approach form and can get hot on the greens. That has been the formula at Hamilton in the past. You absolutely need to putt well here. And Adam Scott has actually developed into one of the more underrated putters on the PGA Tour over the last couple of years, particularly on these Bet POA surfaces. Combine that with some very trustable recent iron form, and I just think that this is a spot where Adam Scott is going to show up. And if you're giving me plus 375 on a top 10 finish, I think I feel a lot more comfortable with that than trying to bet him to be the last man standing. But I think it's going to be a big week for Adam Scott.
That's a perfect segue because that was exactly how I handicapped Adam Scott, and that's why I'm taking him in the first round leader market at 45 to 1. Like you said, I love the way he's been playing. I don't think I trust him to close out a Sunday, but I absolutely trust him to either start off strong or be in contention on a Sunday. Without trying to repeat too much of what you just said, he's been playing some incredible golf. He's made the weekend in 9 of his past 11 tournaments or 9 of his 11 tournaments this season, posting 5 top 20 finishes. He's never played Hamilton before, but this is a guy with an abundance of success on Colt Designs. He's played Royal Liverpool 3 times when competing for the Open Championship. Made the cut all 3 times, finished 8th or higher twice over those 3 times. So he clearly likes how Colt designs his tracks. Obviously, it's going to be a little different in Canada this week, but given the recent form, I think that's absolutely worth a shot than to take him to lead after the first round with how well he's been playing at 45 to 1. Again, same as you. I don't think I trust him to close out a Sunday, but I could absolutely see him leading after 1.
Love that. I'm going to talk about a player that I mentioned briefly earlier in passing with Corey Connors, top 20 plus 130. I've talked about how I don't trust him to make enough putts to win this golf tournament, but Corey Connors right now is the best iron player in this field. And I think that his floor is so inherently high on this golf course because his ability to find fairways and his ability to hit greens with more consistency right now than any other player in this field, that I think he's a phenomenal top 20 bet at plus money. Like I said, I mean, the bar is low. The way that Corey Connors is hitting the ball right now, he really just needs to make a couple 15 footers putt average. And I think that he will find himself in at least the top 20 by tournaments. And based on the way that he's hitting his irons right now, he gained over 8 strokes on approach at Valhalla. For the second tournament in a row, he's gained over 7 strokes on approach. I mean, he's gained over 15 strokes on approach in his last 2 events. So the approach play right now from Connors is just at a completely different level. And I'll take my chances that we can get anything close to a neutral putter. I mean, I think he could probably lose strokes putting and still finish top 20 this week based on the way he's hitting his irons and driving the ball. But I think Connors is the perfect top 20 bet because he may have the highest floor ball striking floor in this field outside of Rory.
Yeah, those approach stats were just absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to go back to the top 10 market one more time, and I'm going to go after Ryan Fox. So long shot here. It's 8 to 1. But so like my Macintyre dart throw, I think this number is just kind of it's too inflated. Yeah, Ryan Fox he's obviously, towards the end of it and he's not that great, but he boasts 2 top 5 finishes over his past 5 tournaments. So he's in great form. And yes, those finishes were at the Zurich Classic and the Myrtle Beach Classic, and 2 tournaments are pretty weak fields, right? But this field isn't going to be any stronger than the one we saw at Zurich. Yeah, that's a team event, but his partner was Garrick Higo, so it's not like he was paired with Rory en route to that 6th place finish. With all due respect to Higo, I didn't kind of mean to ricochet shot him there. But again, like McIntyre, I just think it's worth taking a flyer on a guy to finish in the top 10 once again, who's done it twice over his past 5 tournaments at 8 to 1. So that's where I'm going to go with Ryan Fox.
Love that play. I'm gonna go back to the top 20 market and roll with Doug Ghim this week, who I just think is a phenomenal course fit for Hamilton. I look at the way that Ghim drives the ball. He's one of the most accurate drivers of the ball on the PGA Tour. And I do think you really need to find the fairway on this golf course. We're getting a lot of rain. The golf course is actually going to be closed on Tuesday because the amount of rain. I think we're going to get some pretty lush and thick rough this week. And Doug Ghim's ability to find those narrow fairways is pretty unparalleled in this field. He also happens to be one of the best mid to short iron players in this field as well. Kind of similar to Connors. Like, I'm not sure that I trust him to make enough putts to win this golf tournament, but at plus 320 just to finish in the top 20, I think that his ball striking floor is high enough that at over 3-1, that's one of my favorite bets on the board based on skill set at this golf course.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to stick in that market as well. And I'm going to go after Zach Johnson for plus 550. I know there's a lot you can say about Zach Johnson, but there's no denying that he's been playing a pretty solid brand of golf this month. He's made the weekend in 3 straight tournaments, 2 top 20 finishes over that stretch, which kind of makes me really like this number at plus 550. He's one of the only handful of guys in this field that has played Hamilton twice on tour. He did it in 2019 and 2006. He didn't finish inside the top 20 in either of those tournaments, which I think is the reason why this number is as long as plus 550. I mean, and Zach Johnson's like, he's not the end all be all, of golf talent these days, but he is in good form with 2 top 20s over his past 3 tournaments. So at plus 550, I think there's worse trends to back this week.
I'm going to take another bit of a flyer here in the top 40 market. I love betting these top 40 guys at plus money. And I'm going to go with kind of a forgotten man over the last couple of months that I'm going to buy low on, in Eric Cole. Plus 130, top 40. I think this is a good spot to buy low on Eric Cole. I know that he missed the cut at Colonial, and a lot of his recent form in terms of the models that you're building are going to be thrown off by a disastrous week he hit at Wells Fargo, which I would believe is rock bottom for him, because he's starting to hit the ball a lot better in his past couple of starts since then. But, the type of golf course that Eric Cole plays well at, like, this is it. These shorter positional golf courses, I think that, he's going to keep the driver in the bag here and club down off the tee, because, the golf course is so short. You don't really need to hit driver. And that's what gets him in trouble often is the wayward nature of his driver. He's had so much success on these shorter positional golf courses. He's got a 6th at Oakdale, as I mentioned last year, host of the Canadian Open. Lot of similarities on that track as well. And you still look at his longer term wedge numbers and putting numbers, and Cole at points this season has been one of the best approach players in this field, particularly inside 150 yards. One of the best putters in this field as well, inside 15 feet, has had a lot of success on bent POA greens in the past. So I think this is just a great buy low spot on a guy to start getting the momentum going back in a positive direction, start to play some better golf. I'm going to go with Eric Cole, top 40, plus 130.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to see him turn his game back around. I'm gonna go back to the first round leader market, and I'm gonna go after a guy who's always my favorite bet in this market, and that's Tommy Fleetwood. For some reason, the dude just cannot win on tour, but that doesn't mean he's not one of the best golfers in the world, and he is undoubtedly one of the best golfers in this field. He's in great form. He's made the weekend in 6 consecutive tournaments, boasting 3 top 15 finishes over that stretch, including a 3rd place finish at the Masters. If you can go 3rd at the Masters, I mean, that means I think he can compete once again on Sunday at this field, just like he did at the Canadian Open last year. Obviously, different course, but he competed well before Nick Taylor drained that crazy eagle putt. But yeah, I mean, it's just Fleetwood. He's one of the best golfers in this field, and I don't trust him on Sunday, but I sure as hell trust him on Thursday. So at 35-1, I love that number on Fleetwood to lead after the first round.
Yeah, I was going right to that market anyway next, and saving it for the end, but I'll harken back to a player you mentioned earlier on the podcast, and Alex Noren, 35-1, also that same zone of the odds board. I agree with you. I think being able to get these 35-1s on these players that, are high up on the odds board for a reason, maybe not as proven winners, but you look through over the last year of all players in this field, Alex Noren is 3rd in strokes gained total in round ones. You've already mentioned in many ways all of the reasons why he is a great fit at this golf course, how well he's been playing lately. He's got 8 top 20 finishes in a row. So I may not be as confident in Noren to win the event as you are, but I think 35-1 is a phenomenal number in the first round leader market.
I love that play. It's actually so funny. When I was making my picks this week, I was so back and forth whether I trust him to win or not, and that was between hit first round leader and that. But I ended up going outright because I like this guy more in the first round leader market, and that is Cameron Young. Young has the ability to almost turn into the next generation's Fleetwood. I mean, it's still so early in his career, so I'm kind of saying that tongue in cheek, but it's pretty crazy that Young, he's so close to winning so often, but just never gets it done. And it's kind of like Fleetwood in that way. So I just trust Young so much more on a Thursday than I do on a Sunday right now. But there's no denying his talent. Young is great off the tee, on the approach, and on the greens. His greenside play is probably the one area that still needs a little bit of polishing for sure. But he's such a good player that I'm not worried about him needing to scramble a whole lot. So I mean, this is just one of the best players in this field. I trust him more on Thursday than I do on Sunday. So I'm gonna go after Cameron Young at 40-1 at Bet365 to lead after the first round.
I'm going to finish this off with one more first round later play. This one's a bit more of a dart throw and a long shot, but I'm going to go with Chesson Hadley, 100-1 in the first round later market. When I'm trying to select a first round later, I am looking for guys that A, raise their baseline in round ones, and B, can get absolutely scorching hot with the putter. Chesson Hadley checks both of those boxes. Chesson Hadley raises his baseline in round ones. He's one of the better round one players in this field, particularly on and this tier of the odds board. Chesson Hadley's strokes gained baseline in round one is amongst the absolute highest. And then in terms of his ability with the flat stick, like I think that's going to be a major key piece of this tournament. You run through the leaderboard last year, and every single one of the guys in the top 20, outside of one player, I believe, gained strokes putting. You had the entire top six gain over 3 strokes putting. This is a golf course where everybody's going to be approaching the greens from similar spots, and it's going to be, the golf tournament is going to come down to the player that can make the most 15 footers. And in Chesson Hadley, I am getting one of the best putters inside 15 feet in this entire field that can get scorching hot at times when the putter really gets going for him. He's a pretty darn good wedge player as well. So I'm going to go with Chesson Hadley, 100-1 first round later. That'll do it for our best bets episode for the RBC Canadian Open. Before we get out of here, a final reminder that the Links and Locks podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. As a reminder, our action experts, Spencer Aguiar and Nick Brentwish, return with host Roberto Arguello tomorrow for our RBC Canadian Open betting preview right here on the Links and Locks podcast. So for Tony Sartori, I'm your host, Andy Lack, and we'll see you back here next week on the Links and Locks podcast presented by Bet365.